Emergency override, all channels. Station Commander Korvax's voice crackled across every communications device in the diplomatic station. The human just cracked our reinforced deck plating by stepping off the shuttle, and she's apologizing for scuffing her boots. In the Grand Council chamber, the laughter died instantly. 5 seconds earlier, High Counselor Zilax had been leading the mockery. "Earth!" he bellowed, his 4 arms gesturing at the holographic display. 1.02 standard gravities. They want to join the Heavy World Alliance. The delegates from 12 high-gravity species roared with amusement. What's next? We accept representatives from gas giants. Invite the vacuum dwellers. The chamber, carved from solid neutronium composite and designed to withstand beings from 15 gravity worlds, shook, not metaphorically. Actually, shook. Azila, the station's chief science officer, looked up from her console, her sensory stalks rigid with alarm. "Commander, we have a hull breach in Docking Bay 7. No, wait, not a breach. Structural compromise. Deck plating integrity at 42% and dropping." "Impossible," Korvax snapped, his mandibles clicking in irritation. "That plating can withstand a direct meteor strike. What hit us?" "Nothing hit us, sir." Azila's voice climbed an octave. The human delegate walked on it. The council chamber's ambient noise, the usual background hum of life support systems calibrated for species that breathed methane, ammonia, or superheated sulfur, suddenly seemed very loud in the silence that followed. "Walked," Zilax repeated flatly. "The report says she stepped down from her shuttle, standard egress procedure, and her footprint went through 3 centimeters of reinforced decking." According to YouTube analytics, 98% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, Azila's appendages flew across her instruments. Atmospheric pressure in the bay is dropping. Emergency force fields activating in sections 7A, 7B, and 7C. Alarms began to blare. "Get me visual," Korvax commanded. The holographic display flickered, replacing Earth's application documents with a live feed from Docking Bay 7. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. A small shuttle, almost comically tiny by galactic standards, sat on the landing pad, its boarding ramp extended. And at the bottom of that ramp stood a human. She was unremarkable, bipedal, averaging 1.7 meters, wearing what the cultural database identified as business casual attire. Brown hair pulled back in something called a ponytail. She held a briefcase in one hand and was looking down at the deck with an expression of genuine concern. "Oh no," the human said, her voice picked up by the bay's audio sensors. "I scuffed the floor. Is there a maintenance bot or—" She looked around, apparently oblivious to the warning klaxons. "Hello?" Behind her, a footprint-shaped crater marred the previously smooth surface of the deck. Spiderweb cracks radiated outward from the depression. As the council watched in stunned silence, one of those cracks lengthened with an audible creak that the audio sensors transmitted with perfect clarity. "How heavy is she?" Zilax demanded. Azila consulted her readings. 72.4 kilograms, standard for her species and height. "That's impossible. I weigh 300 kilograms and I don't damage the deck." "You also come from a 6-gravity world, Counselor. Your species evolved with distributed weight-bearing structures. The human—" Azila trailed off, her voice filled with disbelief. "Sir, according to her species profile, she should weigh 1/15 of what she does in our station's artificial gravity field." "So she weighs more than she should?" "No, sir. She weighs exactly what she should. Her mass is correct, but the force she's exerting on the deck—" Azila made a gesture of confusion with 6 of her 8 limbs. "It's as if her bone density and muscle structure don't match her planet's gravity rating at all." On screen, the human, Emma Johnson, according to the manifest, took another step toward the bay's exit. The deck groaned. Another crack appeared. "Stop!" Korvax roared into the communication system. Human delegate, please stop moving. Emma froze, looking up at the nearest speaker. Oh, hi there. Sorry, I couldn't find anyone to check in with. I'm here for the council session, Emma Johnson, Earth Diplomatic Corps. She smiled, apparently trying to be helpful. I know I'm a bit early, but I thought it would be better than being late. Should I go back to the shuttle? No, 3 different voices shouted simultaneously. Just stay exactly where you are, Korvax said, forcing his voice into something approximating calm. We're sending an assistance team. Oh, okay. Emma shifted her weight. The deck groaned again, and she winced. Sorry, is there construction going on? The floor seems a little unstable. In the council chamber, Zilax stared at the display. His earlier mockery had evaporated completely. That's our most reinforced deck section. We use it for receiving delegates from worlds with gravity ratings up to 20 standard. She comes from a 1-gravity world, another counselor whispered. That's what Earth's application says, Azila confirmed. She pulled up more data, her appendages trembling slightly. Average gravity, 1.02 standard. Atmospheric pressure, 1.0 standard. Rotation period, 24 standard hours. It's classified as a light world in every possible category. Then how is she doing that? Zilax gestured at the screen where maintenance drones were now approaching Emma cautiously, as if she were an unexploded munition. Emma noticed them and brightened. Oh, good. Hi there. Listen, I think I accidentally damaged your floor. It wasn't like this when I landed, I swear. Is it under warranty? I'd hate for Earth to get billed for... The primary maintenance drone extended a sensor array toward her. Immediately, it retracted, its indicator lights flashing an alarm. Drone diagnostic? Korvax asked. Azila consulted her console, her voice hollow. It's detecting, sir, the drone's reporting a localized gravity anomaly, as if the human is generating her own gravitational field. That's absurd. She'd need the mass of a small moon. I'm just telling you what the sensors say, Commander. On screen, Emma looked at her watch, an actual mechanical timepiece, Azila noted with detached fascination, and frowned. I don't want to be pushy, but the session starts in 20 minutes. Is there any way I could get to the conference room? I can walk really carefully, I promise. I do yoga, so I have pretty good balance. Korvax looked at the structural integrity readouts. Docking Bay 7 was already compromised. If the human walked through the station's corridors, which were designed to accommodate everything from methane-breathing cryons to the crystalline Jactar, with the same force-to-mass ratio she'd already demonstrated. This station, he said slowly, was designed to house the Galactic Heavy World Alliance Summit. We built it to withstand species from the most extreme high-gravity environments in known space. He looked at his council. We laughed at Earth's application. We called them weak. Fragile. Azila finished his thought, her voice barely above a whisper. And one of them just compromised our hull integrity by walking. On screen, Emma shifted again. Another crack appeared, and she sighed. Okay, this is getting embarrassing. I'm just going to stand very, very still. But seriously, is someone coming? I'd really like to not be late. The alarms continued to wail. Azila deployed every scanning instrument at her disposal. Gravitometric sensors, mass spectrometers, molecular density analyzers, even the exotic particle detectors they kept for studying dark matter anomalies. The data flooded her console, and each readout made less sense than the last. Commander, she said, her voice tight with scientific frustration, the human's bone density is reading at 4.7 times what it should be for a species from a 1-gravity world. Her muscle tissue is... I don't even have a comparison. It's denser than Akron war beasts, and they evolved on a 12-gravity planet. Perhaps the sensors are malfunctioning? I've run diagnostics 3 times. Everything's working perfectly. The human is the anomaly. On screen, Emma was still standing motionless, though she'd started checking her phone, another archaic Earth device. Okay, so, her voice came through the speakers, patient but slightly strained. I really do need to get to that meeting. Can I just walk very slowly? Would that help? No, Korvax shouted. Then, more calmly, please, Delegate Johnson, remain stationary while we... Emma took a step. The deck groaned. A hairline fracture appeared, racing outward from her foot like lightning frozen in metal. Warning, lights flickered throughout the bay. Oops, Emma said. She took another step, carefully placing her foot down. Another crack. This is really not my day. Stop moving, Korvax's bellow echoed through the bay. Emma froze again, but her momentum carried her slightly forward. She caught herself against the wall, just a casual hand placement, the kind any being might make for balance, and her palm went into the reinforced bulkhead. A perfect handprint dented the neutronium composite, 15 centimeters deep. Emma stared at the wall, then at her hand, then back at the wall. What? Okay, no, your station isn't up to code, right? This is some kind of safety violation? That bulkhead, Azila whispered, is rated to contain explosive decompression events. Security Officer Zilax, a different Zilax from the counselor, built like a tank from his species' 8-gravity homeworld, stormed into the bay. His species, the Vraxian, were renowned as the galaxy's premier security forces precisely because they could physically restrain almost any known life form. Delegate Johnson, he announced, his gravelly voice brooking no argument, for your safety and the station's integrity, I'm placing you in protective custody until we resolve this situation. Protective custody? Emma's eyebrows rose. I'm the one breaking things. Shouldn't you be protecting the station from me? Semantics. Zilax approached, his forearms spread in the standard Vraxian restraint position. Please, come with me. We have a reinforced holding area. Okay, wow, holding area sounds a lot like jail. Emma raised her hands. Look, I'm cooperating, but I'm not going to... Hey! Zilax had grabbed her arm, or tried to. His 3-fingered hand wrapped around her bicep and pulled. Emma didn't budge. Zilax pulled harder, his boots scraping against the deck as he applied what Azila's sensors registered as 400 kilograms of force. Emma frowned. Dude, that's kind of uncomfortable. Can you just... She pulled her arm back, a gentle motion, barely even a tug. Zilax flew backward. 340 kilograms of Vraxian security officer, trained in zero-gravity combat and resistant to forces that would pulp most species, slid across the deck and crashed into a supply crate. The crate crumpled. Zilax lay there, groaning, his posterior arms twitching. Emma clapped her hands over her mouth. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean... Are you okay? Should I help you up? No, came the chorus from Korvax, Azila, and the recovering Zilax simultaneously. Just stay there, Zilax wheezed, struggling to his feet. Don't help. Please. The engineering team arrived moments later, led by Chief Engineer Talana, pushing what looked like a hovering platform. We've brought an anti-gravity transport, she announced. It will distribute the delegates' weight across a wider area and prevent further structural damage. Emma looked at the platform skeptically. Is that really necessary? I can walk. I don't know, tiptoe? Please, Talana said, gesturing to the platform, for everyone's sake. Sighing, Emma approached the platform. Each step created new fractures. When she reached it, she sat down on the edge, placing her briefcase beside her. This is so embarrassing. I've traveled to 12 different stations and never had this crack. The anti-gravity platform, designed to carry loads up to 5 tons, split down the middle. The anti-grav generators whined in distress before shutting down with a series of sparks. Emma dropped the 30 centimeters to the deck. The deck cracked. You've got to be kidding me, Emma muttered. Azila was running calculations so fast her appendages blurred. Commander, her skeletal structure alone should have collapsed under her own weight the moment she evolved in 1-gravity conditions. The compressive forces her bones are withstanding right now would require... This is impossible, Earth's gravity should have crippled this level of density. In the council chamber, the delegates sat in stunned silence. The holographic display showed the docking bay, now crisscrossed with cracks and stress fractures. Multiple warning indicators pulsed across the structural integrity map. Sections 7 through 12 now on structural watch, Azila reported. If she moves through the station, we're looking at potential cascade failures in at least 30 corridors. Korvac stood abruptly. Emergency council session. Now, we need to discuss the human problem. The human problem? One delegate asked weakly. Unless anyone has a better term for a species from a one-gravity world that can crack our heaviest construction like eggshells. No one offered an alternative. 15 minutes later, Emma sat, carefully, in a specially reinforced chair that the engineering team had frantically welded together from cargo container supports, in an observation room adjacent to the council chamber. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, she could see the delegates assembled, all of them shooting nervous glances in her direction. A maintenance drone brought her a mug of water, since they didn't have coffee. Emma accepted it with a grateful smile. "Thanks. I really appreciate—" The mug crumpled in her grip. Water splashed across her blouse. Emma stared at the crushed metal in her hand, her expression frozen somewhere between horror and resignation. I barely touched it." In the council chamber, Korvac watched the human delegate try to salvage her dignity while soaked in water and holding a destroyed mug. "By the ancients," he breathed, "Earth's applications said they were a peaceful species interested in trade and cultural exchange. They also," Azila added, consulting the documents, noted that their delegate has experience in structural engineering and enjoys fitness activities in her spare time. "Fitness activities," Zilax the counselor repeated, nursing his bruised pride. "On a one-gravity world." They all looked at Emma, who was now trying to dab water off her clothes with a napkin while very carefully not crushing it. "What?" Korvac asked quietly. "Have we been underestimating?" Azila stood before the emergency council session, her presentation hologram flickering with data that seemed to violate every principle of evolutionary biology she'd ever studied. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her voice carrying the weight of someone about to overturn scientific consensus, "I believe Earth's classification as a weak gravity world has created a fundamental misunderstanding of human evolutionary development." She gestured, and a holographic model of Emma appeared, overlaid with density scans and structural analysis. Humans evolved on a one-gravity planet. This is fact. However, they did not evolve to be efficient for one gravity. They evolved to be excessive. "Explain," Korvac commanded. "Every species in this council represents optimal evolutionary adaptation to their gravity environment. The Vraxians developed distributed skeletal structures for 8 gravity worlds. The Cryons evolved lightweight crystalline frameworks for their 3-gravity moon. We are all perfectly calibrated to our environments." She paused. "Humans are not." The hologram zoomed in on Emma's skeletal structure. Delegate Johnson's bone density is approximately 4.7 times denser than it should be for her gravity rating. Her muscle fiber composition exceeds species from 12 gravity worlds. Her cardiovascular system operates under pressure that would be considered extreme military augmentation in most civilizations. "But why?" Council Member Jotaro asked. "What evolutionary pressure would create such redundancy?" "That," Azila said grimly, "is what terrifies me, because I don't have an answer." In the observation room, Emma had finally gotten mostly dry. She'd found a pen in her briefcase and was trying to take notes on what she could overhear from the council session. She clicked the pen, pressed it to a datapad the maintenance drone had left. The pen tip punched through the datapad's screen, through its backing, and embedded itself in the table beneath. "Oh, come on!" Emma yanked the pen free, leaving a perfect pen-shaped hole. "This is ridiculous. I'm not even trying." The council chamber fell silent as every delegate turned to watch. Emma noticed the attention and gave an awkward wave. "Sorry." Didn't mean to interrupt. Continue your whatever you're discussing about me. Korvax activated his communicator. Delegate Johnson, can you describe your typical physical activities on Earth? Emma blinked. Like, exercise? I mean, I go to the gym 3 times a week, do some yoga. I ran a half marathon last year, but honestly, I'm not in great shape or anything. Pretty average, actually. The silence that followed was deafening. Commander, Azila said carefully, I'm going to need clarification on several Earth terms. What is a gym? A fitness center? Where you work out? Emma's confusion was evident. You know, treadmills, weights, exercise bikes. Azila pulled up Earth's cultural database, searching for references. What she found made her sensory stalks quiver. Commander, I'm seeing footage of human athletic activities. Permission to share with the Council? Granted. The holographic display shifted, showing videos compiled from Earth's public networks. Humans running, not fleeing, but voluntarily running for extended periods. Humans lifting metal weights repeatedly. Humans striking heavy bags with their bare appendages. Humans swimming, cycling, climbing artificial walls designed specifically to be difficult to climb. This is recreational, Council Member Talana whispered. According to the database, Azila confirmed, 73% of Earth's population engages in voluntary physical stress activities. They call it staying healthy. Emma leaned closer to her viewport. Yeah, I mean, if you don't exercise, you get out of shape. Everyone knows that. Out of shape for what? Zilax the counselor demanded. Your world has no predators large enough to threaten you. Your wars are fought with ranged weapons. What are you maintaining this physical capability for? Emma frowned. That's actually a good question. I guess we just like being able to do stuff. My doctor says I should exercise for cardiovascular health. Your species has cardiovascular problems, Azila interrupted, her instruments already scanning for signs of distress in Emma. Well, yeah. If we don't exercise regularly, heart disease is a leading cause of death on Earth. But your cardiovascular system operates at pressures that most species would consider lethal. Right. And if we don't maintain it, it gets worse. Emma shrugged, clearly not understanding the horror this caused. It's just basic health stuff. Korvax had opened a priority channel to the Galactic High Council. This is Station Commander Korvax of the Heavy World Alliance facility. We may have severely miscalculated Earth's classification, requesting immediate xenobiological review team and structural engineering assessment. On the hologram, Azila displayed her latest findings. I've searched the galactic database for any other one-gravity world that produced species with comparable durability. There are none. 0. In 17,000 catalogued worlds, only Earth has produced a species this structurally redundant for its environment. But there has to be a reason, Jotaro insisted. Evolution doesn't create waste. There must have been an environmental pressure. Azila nodded slowly. I have a hypothesis. Earth's dominant species went extinct approximately 65 million years ago. Massive creatures with extreme body mass. Early human ancestors would have needed significant durability just to survive in that environment. The structural systems they developed never went away. Emma's laugh echoed through both rooms. Wait, are you saying we're built like this because of dinosaurs? I don't know that term, Azila admitted. The big extinct reptiles, T-Rex, Triceratops, that whole thing. Emma was grinning now, clearly thinking this was some kind of joke. You think we evolved to be durable because of animals that died out before humans even existed? The lack of laughter from the council made her smile fade. Oh, you're serious? Extremely, Korvax confirmed. Emma sat back, processing this. Then she leaned forward again. Okay, but evolution doesn't work that fast. After the dinosaurs died, there were still large mammals. Mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths. Early humans definitely dealt with those. And we developed tools, spears, fire, coordination. We survived because we were smart and worked together, not because we were physically tough. Every example made the council more alarmed. You fought creatures called saber-toothed cats with primitive spears? Talana asked weakly. Well, yeah. And we won, obviously, since we're still here and they're not. You hunted mammoths. For food, yeah, it was a whole thing, required coordinated group tactics, and why are you all looking at me like that? Azila was frantically taking notes. Delegate Johnson, define coordination in the context of mammoth hunting. I mean, you'd have a group of people, maybe 10 or 15, and you'd chase the mammoth toward a cliff or a trap. Then you'd use spears to... Emma stopped. Okay, I'm getting the feeling I'm making this worse. Worse is relative, Korvax muttered. He pulled up the structural integrity reports. Chief Engineer Talana, status. Commander, we need to halt all station operations and conduct a full assessment. The human hasn't even moved through our primary corridors yet, and we're already seeing stress fractures in load-bearing sections. If she walks to the cafeteria, we might lose environmental containment in 17 different sections. Emma stood up carefully. The chair beneath her groaned but held. Look, I clearly can't stay here. Maybe I should just go back to Earth, and we can reschedule this meeting for a station that's, I don't know, actually structurally sound. No, Korvax said immediately. Then, more diplomatically, we need to understand this. You represent an entire species, Delegate Johnson. A species we've categorically misunderstood. We can't simply ignore that. Emma sighed and sat back down. The chair groaned again. Fine, but seriously, can someone please bring me something to drink that I won't accidentally crush? I'm really thirsty. 3 engineers immediately began designing a reinforced beverage container. The priority transmission from Galactic High Council arrived with all the gravitas of an interstellar incident. High Chancellor Vexthul's image materialized in the chamber, his crystalline features reflecting the emergency lighting. Station Commander Korvax, his voice resonated with barely contained fury. Explain to me how a species from a Class F fragile world has managed to compromise a military-grade diplomatic station designed to withstand siege warfare. Emma's voice cut through before Korvax could respond. Excuse me. Destroyed. I didn't destroy anything. I just walked on it. Every head turned toward the observation room. Emma had stood up and moved closer to the viewport, her expression indignant. Behind her, the reinforced chair finally gave up and collapsed into scrap metal. That, Emma pointed at the wreckage, is not my fault. Your furniture is defective. Delegate Johnson, Korvax said carefully, perhaps you could... No, seriously, I've been to stations run by the Antares Collective, the Sirius Trade Federation, even that sketchy outpost near the Kepler Belt, and nobody's infrastructure fell apart when I showed up. What kind of building standards does the Heavy World Alliance use? Because from where I'm standing, carefully, I might add, you guys seriously cut corners. High Chancellor Vexthul's form flickered with what might have been confusion. Commander, context, now. Korvax took a deep breath. High Chancellor, Earth's gravity rating is 1.02 standard gravities. This is 1/15th the minimum requirement for Heavy World Alliance membership. I'm aware. That's why their application was denied 3 times. Yes, sir. However, Korvax gestured to the data Azila had compiled. Humans are not optimized for their gravity environment. They're approximately 15 times more durable than they should be for a 1-gravity species. The silence stretched for 3 full seconds. Repeat that, Vexthul said. Humans are, structurally speaking, heavy world species. They simply happen to live on a light world. Emma made an exasperated noise. Okay, we're not heavy world species. We're just regular people who... She paused, thinking. Actually, you know what? Let me show you. Before anyone could stop her, Emma lifted her foot and placed it down with deliberate, measured force. A hairline crack appeared in the observation room floor. Precise. controlled, exactly where she'd stepped and nowhere else. See? She lifted her foot and stepped again, creating another identical crack. I can control it. I just wasn't expecting your floors to be so delicate. She said it like someone trying to be polite about a friend's cheap furniture. Azila's instruments went wild. Commander, she just demonstrated fine motor control over force application that most species need hydraulic assistance to achieve. She's modulating output across a range from structural damage to precise structural damage. That's not the victory you think it is, Korvax muttered. On the hologram, Azila brought up new comparative data. Hi, Chancellor. I've run comprehensive analysis. Delegate Johnson's bone density exceeds that of species from 10 gravity worlds. Her muscle fiber density should be impossible for oxygen-based metabolism, yet her cardiovascular system supports it easily. She represents a biological paradox. Emma was scrolling through her phone, apparently bored with being discussed like a scientific specimen. You guys want to see what normal human activity looks like? Here. She held up the phone to the viewport. The images cycled through. Emma hanging from an artificial rock wall by her fingertips, dozens of meters above ground with only a thin rope for safety. Emma running alongside hundreds of other humans in something called a marathon, 26 miles of voluntary running. Emma in a gym, lifting metal bars loaded with circular weights. That's my CrossFit class, Emma explained. We do this 3 times a week. High-intensity interval training, Olympic lifting, gymnastics movements. It's pretty fun, actually. Good stress relief. Zilax, the security officer, still nursing his bruises, stared at the images. Those are high-impact stress exercises. Your species does this voluntarily? For fun? Well, yeah, otherwise you get weak and unhealthy. Emma swiped to another photo. This is from my hiking trip last summer. That's Mount Rainier. About 4,400 meters elevation. Took 2 days to summit, but the view was amazing. You climbed a mountain, Talana said faintly, for recreation. Lots of people do it. There's this thing called the 7 Summits Challenge where you climb the highest mountain on each continent. It's a whole thing. Azila was cross-referencing the Galactic military database. Commander, these recreational activities, they match the conditioning protocols for elite special forces units from 73 different high-gravity civilizations. The humans do them voluntarily, for fun, starting in childhood. Emma showed another photo, small humans in a sport called soccer, colliding with each other at full speed while chasing a ball. Yeah, kids' sports are important for development, builds coordination, teamwork, physical fitness. My nephew plays 3 different sports. 3 different combat training regimens, Korvax translated automatically. Sports, not combat. We're not violent. We just like to move around a lot. High Chancellor Vex Thul had been silent, processing. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of paradigm shift. Commander Korvax, your assessment? Sir, I believe humans are not weak gravity adapted. They're strong gravity compressed. Their evolution on a light world didn't make them fragile. It gave them excess capacity that they maintain through constant voluntary stress conditioning. Emma threw up her hands. We're not maintaining excess capacity. We're just trying not to die of heart disease. By performing elite military conditioning, Azila added, by going to the gym, which uses equipment designed to simulate hostile gravity environments for training purposes. Emma opened her mouth, closed it, then conceded, Okay, when you put it that way, I guess it sounds kind of intense. Vex Thul made a decision. Council vote, Earth's application to the Heavy World Alliance. All in favor? The vote was unanimous. Motion passes. Earth is hereby accepted as a member of the Heavy World Alliance under a new classification, Overbuilt Light World Species. Vex Thul paused. Commander, implement Protocol 7. Korvax stiffened. Sir, Protocol 7 is reserved for species classified as potential threat level civilizations. I'm aware. Do you have a better suggestion for a species that considers our military conditioning to be stress relief? Emma's eyes widened. Wait, hold on. I came here for trade agreements and cultural exchange. I don't want to be classified as a threat. Too late, Zilax muttered. Delegate Johnson, Vexthul said, his tone formal. Earth's membership is approved. However, we will need to establish new protocols for human interaction with galactic infrastructure, perhaps starting with structural reinforcement standards. Emma slumped against the viewport, which immediately cracked. And better viewports, Vexthul added. I hate this, Emma said to no one in particular. I just wanted to talk about coffee exports. Over the next 6 hours, the station transformed. Engineering teams worked in frantic shifts, installing what they were already calling human-rated pathways, triple-reinforced deck plating with distributed load-bearing structures and redundant support systems. The pathway from Docking Bay 7 to the conference room looked less like a diplomatic corridor and more like a military bunker. Is this really necessary? Emma asked, watching the construction through her observation room viewport, the third viewport, after she'd cracked the first two. Extremely, Chief Engineer Talana replied, not looking up from her work. We're forwarding these specifications to the Galactic Construction Consortium. Earth standard durability is about to become a universal building code. Azila, meanwhile, was buried in her research, her appendages flying across multiple consoles simultaneously. The title of her paper, which would go on to win 3 prestigious xenobiology awards, glowed on the screen. Evolutionary Overcompensation in Low-Gravity Environments, a Study of Human Structural Redundancy. You're going to be famous, Korvax told her. I'm going to be mocked by every evolutionary biologist in the galaxy for not seeing this pattern sooner, Azila corrected. But yes, probably also famous. The formal trade agreement signing took place in a hastily renovated conference room. The table, a custom construction of cargo container struts and emergency bulkhead material, could have supported a small spacecraft. Emma sat across from the council delegates, a specially designed stylus in her hand that wouldn't shatter under her grip. Earth's coffee exports, she read from the agreement, will be distributed through standard commercial channels with humans receiving favorable trade status, and she looked up. Wait, you're giving us premium trade rates? Just like that? Consider it hazard pay, Zilax muttered, still sporting a visible bruise from their earlier encounter. Korvax shot him a look, then turned to Emma with something approaching diplomatic grace. Delegate Johnson, I must apologize for the Council's earlier mockery of Earth's application. We made assumptions based on incomplete data. Emma waved it off with a chuckle, and 3 counselors flinched at her casual movement. Hey, happens all the time. Last station I visited, I broke their elevator. The time before that, I cracked a window just by leaning against it. You guys actually handled it pretty well, all things considered. You've damaged other stations? Korvax asked weakly. I mean, yeah, usually just little stuff. Once I crushed a door panel trying to press the button, but they fixed it pretty quick. She signed the agreement with a flourish. The stylus survived. There, official trade partners. The council members applauded, carefully, quietly, as if afraid sudden noise might set her off. Zilax, who'd been assigned as Emma's official escort for the duration of her stay, approached with visible trepidation. Delegate Johnson, I'm to accompany you for the remainder of your visit. Please inform me before making any sudden movements. I'm not a bomb, you know. The structural damage suggests otherwise. Emma laughed. The counselors tensed and pulled out her phone again. So since Earth's in the Alliance now, what are the good tourist destinations? I've got 2 weeks of vacation saved up. The council exchanged panicked glances. Tourist destinations, Talana repeated carefully, would require accommodations, hotels, restaurants, public transportation. Right, and all of which would need to be reinforced to human standard before you could safely visit without causing catastrophic structural failures. Emma's face fell. So, should I just stay on Earth then? This seems like a lot of trouble. I don't want to be that species that breaks everything. No, Korvac said, perhaps too quickly. He composed himself. No, Delegate Johnson, we need this alliance. Earth brings unique perspectives and capabilities. We just need stronger buildings. And more flexible design standards, Talana added. And possibly warning signs, Zilax contributed. Emma sighed, then brightened. Hey, I could help with that. I'm a structural engineer back on Earth. I know exactly what kind of stress tolerances you'd need. She stood, the floor groaned but held, and walked to the engineering console. Okay, so if I jump, she demonstrated a small hop. The deck protested audibly. You don't want to build the ceiling there. She pointed at a structural beam that had developed a stress fracture. That's gonna fail in about 6 months under normal human foot traffic. Talana and her entire engineering team frantically took notes. And you'll want to reinforce any handrails, Emma continued, warming to the topic. Humans grab things instinctively when we lose balance. Oh, and chairs. Definitely over-engineer the chairs. I've broken like 6 today. 8, Azila corrected quietly. You've broken 8 chairs. 4 hours later, Emma walked back down the human-rated pathway to Docking Bay 7. The new construction held beautifully. She only caused one small crack, and that was because she'd been distracted by a message on her phone. The council gathered in the observation deck to watch her departure. Emma waved from the shuttle ramp, cheerful and entirely unaware of the paradigm shift she'd caused. Thank you for having me, her voice crackled over the comms. Sorry about the floor. Her shuttle lifted off smoothly, leaving the docking bay behind. In the exact spot where she'd first stepped off, 6 hours earlier, the bootprint-shaped crater remained. Korvac stared at it for a long moment, then turned to his engineering staff. Preserve that, seal it under transparent aluminum, and install a plaque. Sir, remember when we learned Earth's weakness was our strength, he quoted softly. Let it stand as a reminder not to judge species by their planetary classifications. Azila moved to stand beside him, her sensory stalks tracking Emma's shuttle as it accelerated toward the jump point. Commander, if we misunderstood humans this completely, how many other weak species have we underestimated? Korvax didn't answer. He didn't have one. In her shuttle, Emma was already reviewing the itinerary for her next assignment, a diplomatic station orbiting a ultra-high gravity world, 17.4 standard gravities, home to the galaxy's most physically imposing species. She pulled out her travel checklist and added a note. Pack extra-strength boots, maybe 2 pairs. Then she leaned back in her seat. The shuttle's chair creaked alarmingly but held, and smiled. I really hope their floors are better built than the last place. Behind her, through the viewport, the Heavy World Alliance station grew smaller, its newly installed human-rated pathways gleaming in the starlight like scars that had been turned into armor. The galaxy, Emma reflected, was about to get a lot more interesting, and hopefully a lot more structurally sound. Any int